Well, hello. Welcome to a delayed 10 with Tom. This was supposed to be for Thursday morning, but we've been having all kind of internet issues, and so we haven't been able to post anything. So hopefully on this Friday morning, you're getting to see this. And today we want to talk about encouragement. Encouragement is something that's so important to all of us, because we all find times where we're down in the dumps or whatever, and I like to look at encouragement, like I do so many other things, through the lens of sports. And the ability to be able to encourage someone is one of the most important things that a player on a team or a coach of a team can do. Sometimes all that a player needs to excel is the reassurance that they can overcome some of the obstacles of the game. If a player strikes out and they're down, they just need to know they can do it, and what they need to work on, and know that others have gone through the same thing, and now as they're succeeding, that this person can succeed with them. So that's such an important role. Sometimes that encouragement comes from a coach, but oftentimes it also carries more weight when it comes from a teammate. And I've seen that so often in baseball dugouts and on the sidelines of football games. Where a player will take another player aside and they'll point out some things and give them a little pep talk, and all of a sudden, things begin to change. It doesn't take a whole lot to encourage someone, but a lot of times the time that you take to encourage can mean the world to the person that is being encouraged. Scripture that kind of goes along with that, and I think this is so important for us, comes from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25. And let us watch out for one another to provoke love and good works, not neglecting to gather together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day approaching. That whole concept of being together so that we can encourage one another is so vital. When we're missing out on church or we're missing out on youth group, we're not only missing that time to worship God corporately, but we're missing the encouragement and the fuel that we get to live our daily lives from the people around us. And I think that is so important, especially for youth at this time, to be around other students who can encourage them when they're going through a tough time. Too often as students, we're guilty of tearing somebody down instead of building them up. And we need to be careful that we don't do it. We need to encourage one another. And that should be happening every time we gather together. I love it when we're outside and we're playing Gaga and somebody is just not doing well at it, and somebody just keeps encouraging, hang in there, be a little more aggressive, you can do this. And it's fun watching students who at the beginning of the summer would stand in the Gaga pit and hope they didn't get hit. But now they're on the attack and they're playing aggressively and they're doing well and they're winning. To me, one of the biggest thrills is when I hear a student say, I never thought I'd ever be able to win, but I did. And a lot of that's due to the encouragement they get to keep playing, to keep hanging in there. I think back on this whole encouragement thing to the summer of 1997. I was living in a little town called Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. It's in the center part of the state. And they had a baseball team of 14 and 15-year-olds that were playing senior Little League. It's basically run by Little League Baseball, but it was for older kids. And so this 14 and 15-year-old team really was having a great season. They had a lot of great athletes. They had outstanding coaches. And as they started their run to the playoffs, they breezed through the local playoffs, the sectionals, the regionals, all of that kind of stuff. And they were just destroying people. They were scoring 20-some runs a game. Most of their games weren't even close. Then they got to the state tournament. Well, it was supposed to get a lot tougher there, but it didn't. They just kept right on rolling. The games were a little closer, but they rolled undefeated into the Eastern Regional Tournament. And that Eastern Regional Tournament took place in New Jersey. And it was about a 3-hour drive each way to go to the games. And so the team, of course, is staying in New Jersey for the week. And they get out there and they're rolling through the competition out there. Again, the games are getting closer because the teams are getting better, the competition's better. But they're moving right along. They're getting great pitching, they're getting great defense, and they're still getting a lot of timely hitting. And then when they got to the final game of the winner's bracket, they came up against a team from Delaware. Now, the team from Delaware had a kid who was going to be a college football player. Great big guy. Tall, wide, just a physical specimen. And boy, could he throw hard. And so in this showdown between the Delaware champions and the Pennsylvania champions, our kids got rocked. They got only one hit the entire game. They lost the game 10-0. It was devastating. And so at this point, after rolling through so many games without a loss, I think they'd won 15 in a row, now they've got to fight back through the losers bracket to get another shot at this team from Delaware. Well, they managed to get into the final of the losers bracket, which would give them a chance, if they won that, to play this team from Delaware again. But they were pretty much out of pitchers. And so they put the ball into the hands of a little used pitcher. But the players were encouraging, we know you can do this. And he went out and pitched the game of his life. And they were able to advance to the finals, where they ran into this Delaware team again. But the good news was the big pitcher from Delaware wasn't pitching the first game. So in order to advance, they had to win twice in one day. And so the first game took place at about 5 o'clock, and it was a back and forth battle. Both teams playing so well, and in the end, a fantastic defensive play saved the day, and Lewisburg won the game 3-2, which now forced a decisive championship game. But now, of course, the big guy from Delaware was going to be pitching. But it was interesting watching the coaches individually talking to each of the players about how they're going to approach this game differently, what they're going to do differently at the plate, how they're going to be a little more aggressive. They're not going to wait for the right pitches. They're just going to go out and attack. They're going to put the ball in play however they can. They're going to bunt. They're going to do whatever it takes to get the ball in motion. And they believed that they were going to get it done. And the parents and the fans who had made the trip, getting together and praying together and encouraging the kids, we know you can do this. And the game began, and Lewisburg began to bunt the ball, make the pitcher try and field it, and they were beating out hits. And then as they got guys on, the pitcher got a little rattled, and now all of a sudden they're getting a couple more hits. And now they're putting runs on the board. And eventually they knocked the pitcher out of the game. They ended up winning the game. I think it was 11-2 to win the regional championship, go on to the Senior Little League World Series. And what an incredible feat. But it was the encouragement from one another, even after a devastating defeat, to bounce back, to work harder, to try new things, to encourage one another to get the job done. And that is so powerful, and it's powerful in anything that we do. We're going to fail sometimes in our faith. You know, the Bible tells us that all have sinned. It means none of us are immune to it. When we fail, it's important that we're around people who aren't going to just heap abuse on us and call us all kind of names and say, how could you be so dumb? But we're going to need people that are going to encourage us to get back on our feet, to make things right, and to keep moving on. Because God doesn't want us to wallow in our sin, wallow in the past. He wants us to move forward. So be an encourager and look for the people around you that encourage you. As you begin this new school year, be an encourager to that student who's having a rough day or is having a struggle in a particular class. Be an encourager to that teacher who is doing things that they've never been forced to do today, with all the new kinds of learning, all the online stuff that they're going to be having to do this year. Encourage them. Be an encouragement to the people who feed you your meals in the cafeteria. If you're riding the bus, encourage the bus driver. They need that. And look for the people who are going to encourage you. Be that positive teammate, be that positive classmate, be that positive influence even over your own family. So that's our word for today. And so I hope that you will be an encourager. And I want to encourage you to join us this Sunday, either Sunday morning for Bible study, Sunday night for youth group, or better yet, join us for both. So we hope to see you this weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys, and we'll see you next time on 10 with Tom.